There is a question carried quietly in the hearts of millions. A question whispered in sleepless nights, asked in moments of heartbreak, and repeated silently when life becomes too heavy. Why can't I hear God? You pray, you wait, you search the sky, you listen for signs, and still you hear nothing. But the truth is not that God is silent, has forgotten the language he speaks. And until you learn that language, every message he sends will sound like silence. Let me show you why. God is never absent, but his voice is subtle, and you cannot hear subtle things in a storm of thoughts. Your fear speaks loudly. Your anxiety shouts. Your overthinking screams. And God whispers. Not because he is weak, but because truth does not need volume, it needs stillness. Most people don't need God to speak louder, they need to live quieter.
When your mind keeps replaying your worst moments, you cannot hear the guidance, trying to lead you toward better ones. The divine does not compete with your inner noise. He waits for it to settle.
The way the sun waits for clouds to pass before touching the earth. You think God is a voice in the sky.
But the divine speaks through awareness, intuition, and quiet clarity rising inside you.
God does not talk to your ears, and he talks inside your being. That sudden calm during panic, that soft warning in your gut, that unexplainable knowing of what is right, that peace after a hard truth.
That is God. You have heard him many times, you just didn't
recognize the voice because it didn't sound like words. God speaks through shifts, not sentences, through presence, not volume. That is God.
Through the quiet shaping of your spirit, not the loudness of the world. Most people don't seek guidance.
They seek confirmation. They want God to say what they've already decided. They want him to bless what they're unwilling to release. They want him to open doors that lead back to their past. God speaks differently, and they call it silence. You are not confused because God hasn't answered. You are confused because you don't like the answer. Silence is sometimes God saying, is not this way, not this time, not this person. If you want to hear him, you must become willing to receive what you are afraid to accept. Most prayers are monologues. You speak, you beg, you explain, you cry, and then you stand up and walk away before the answer arrives. You treat prayer like a request,
not a relationship. You talk to God, but you never talk with him. Imagine calling someone and speaking
for 10 minutes straight, then hanging up before they reply. That is how most people pray. Want to hear God, you must learn to stay in the silence after you speak. Answers are not given to the mouth, and they are given to the stillness after the mouth closes. God's voice is found in stillness, but stillness reveals your wounds. And most people run from the quiet because the quiet feels painful. They distract themselves, busy themselves, surround themselves with noise, fill every empty moment with something posh, just to avoid being alone with the voice inside where God waits. You cannot hear the divine if you flee from the only place he speaks clearly. God heals you in silence because silence is where your masks fall off and your truth shows up. The place you avoid is the place you must help. Enter if you want to hear him. God speaks to surrendered hearts, not clenched ones. He cannot guide you forward while your hands still clutch what hurts you. Let go. Not because losing hurts less, but because holding on blocks your hearing. God speaks through release and never through resistance. Every time something leaves your life, ask not why, but what is this silence revealing? Every loss, every line carries a lesson. Every ending carries direction. Every closed door is a sentence in God's language, and silence is where He punctuates the page. Your heart expects God to speak like a storm, loud, obvious, unmistakable. But the divine speaks like sunrise, slow, gentle, growing brighter with every passing moment. God does not overwhelm your senses. He transforms your awareness. He does not shout truth at you. He grows it inside you until it becomes undeniable. If you want to hear, God, learn to notice whispers, the whisper of peace in a moment of fear, the whisper of strength in a moment of patience, weakness, the whisper of clarity in a moment of confusion. Whispers are the language of heaven. If you truly want to hear God, this is the secret. Stop listening with your ears. Stop thinking with your mind. Stop begging with your fear. And let yourself become quiet enough to feel Him. Feel Him in your breath. Feel Him in the calm beneath your pain. Feel Him in the courage you didn't know you had. Feel Him in the direction that rises. Feel Him in the peace that arrives without reason. Silence is not God hiding. Silence is God revealing, but only to those who are still enough to notice. You can hear God. You have heard Him before. You will hear Him again. He has never stopped speaking. Not for a moment. Not for a single heartbeat. The question was never, is God silent? The real question was, am I quiet enough inside to understand His language? Because God speaks, and His eternal, sacred, gentle voice is carried on the wind.